All right, here we are, the very first episode of the Hook It podcast, episode 001. On today's show, we have Si Turner from Cotic Bikes. Si's a really close friend of the company. He's also a really inspirational guy, and we talk everything from the start of Cotic, how it came around, marketing, stress, parents, pretty much everything. So enjoy. All right, so Si Turner, the very first Hook It Products podcast guest. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome. Great to have you on. So, yeah, very first podcast. Pretty excited, to be honest with you. I've wanted to do a podcast for, going on 2 years minimum. Going right back to when we first started Hook It, and previously before that, literally listening to a podcast did change my life. And I think if I can do something that kind of someone might get a little bit of inspiration from at some point down the line, whether it's from you or whoever, or I very much doubt it'll come from me, then I'll be really, really happy. So I'm by no means any kind of presenter for anyone out there who does listen to this, but it'd be great to hear any suggestions or whatever as we carry on with it. So yeah, to get going, I kind of just want to go right back, rewind everything all the way back to when Cotic started, and how did it start? Where did the how and the whys really?
Okay, the how was and the why was to do with wanting a hardtail that nobody else made.
Okay.
I stopped downhill racing in about 2000, and I've always really been into steel hardtails. I never really liked aluminium or any other material for those kind of bikes.
Yeah.
So I wanted a bike that I could put, this is 2000, 2001. So I want to put what we called big forks on back then, which was a whole 100 or 120 mil of track.
Monster tees.
Well, I think the thing that really got me switched on was those RockShox silos that came out. First bolt through single crowns, and I was like, wow, that's the future. And I wanted to put a short stem and fairly big bars and disc brakes and all of those things that I had on my downhill bike onto my trail bike.
Okay.
But everything was all still very kind of, 120 mil stems, and particularly steel bikes then were super, nobody had done any development on them, so super retro and really horrible noodly rubbish. So anyway, I bought an old steel Kona and kind of adapted it, but it didn't really work.
Okay.
So I kind of measured it up and redesigned it as I saw fit, because my background is mechanical engineering.
Okay. So you literally did chop and change bits from it.
Yeah, I didn't chop it up, but it was, I measured it up and got on my CAD drawings and started mucking around with how I wanted the rider to be and stretching it here and changing it there. And it's this really slightly annoying thing that engineers do, is that I must be able to do a better one of them. But it's not, obviously it's not always that easy, but basically I designed the sole. And I was getting a guy called Dave Yates, a legendary old school frame builder, he was starting to look at making me one. And I was just going to get one for my own amazement, and that would have been it. Okay. But a friend of a friend introduced me to Brant Richards when he was on one the first time. And Brant said, you got a frame design, have you? Send me a drawing, expecting a fag packet sketch. It's kind of occupational hazard of owning a bike company. I've got this brilliant idea for a bike.
It's on an Etch-a-Sketch. Don't move it.
That's right, yeah. On the back of a napkin. So anyway, I sent him full CAD drawing, because that's what I do. And he was like, okay, so I could get you, this was right when it was all kind of liberalizing in Taiwan. And he said, well, I could get you a price for some of these. I could get you a couple of prototypes. So we thought, what the hell, really? So we got a couple of prototypes, and loads of people rode them over a year or so, and were really into it. Right. So, and I wasn't planning on giving up my day job, because again, sort of internet mail order was kind of in its infancy, but was working. Yeah. So my mate Kelvin, who still does the website and graphics for Cotic, I said, well, if we get these frames, you can have a frame, and we'll get some forks and stuff, and will you do me a bit of a website? And my other mate Niall was like into graphic design, and like he does 3D special effects for movies.
Wow. Okay.
And he was like, could you do me like a logo and stuff for some bike bits?
Right.
And we just thought, we just wanted some cool bikes. So I wasn't, like I say, I got a big loan to buy the first 100 frames.
Yeah.
And because I wasn't giving up my day job, it was like, well, we'll get some cool bikes and maybe we'll sell some, and it'll be a bit of a laugh, really. And it was really genuinely no more thought out than that. It was like we didn't need to put the house on the line or anything like that. So
I think that's how the best plans come around, to be honest with you, or not plans, best ideas.
Yeah, for sure,
definitely.
So that sort of got us to selling them in like June 2003.
Okay.
And then it was literally like spare room stuff. For the first 3 years, I'd answer emails in my spare time, and me and my wife Jen would put stickers on them and box them up on a Thursday night, and then I'd take them to the post office on the way to work on a Friday.
Wow.
And that was how we worked it. But then people started saying, oh, you should do a titanium one, and that would be awesome. And as luck would have it, the builder that we were using in Taiwan was also the main builder in Taiwan doing titanium at the time.
Right. Okay.
So they said, well, we can do that for you. We just need, so I had the geometry. So we tested a couple of prototypes and got the tubing right, and did the solder.
Right.
And then, and then a couple of my mates were riding soles at hooning around BMX tracks and stuff, and they're saying, well, it's kind of cool, but it's a bit flexy, and we'd like to put bigger fork on it and stuff. And they said you should do a tougher one. And single speed was real big back then, and so that's where the beefy and the simple came from.
Right. Okay.
And then I started putting some disc road wheels on my sole to ride to work on, because I don't like flat handlebars and I like disc brakes. I don't like drop handlebars and I like disc brakes. Right. And I thought, this is all right. Maybe I should do kind of like a flat bar disc road bike, because I don't want a proper road bike. And that was where the road rack came from. So all of these ideas were kind of coming, and we were selling enough stuff to it was self-financing.
Okay.
I didn't have to get another loan to get the next batch of stuff, because we were selling enough stuff that it sort of grew. And I didn't take anything out of it apart from bike bits for the first 3 years. I just used it to buy, because like I say, I had a day job.
Yeah, so you were still doing your day job, and that was a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I worked in the rail industry. I was designing bits for trains and stuff. So where were we? So 2006 kind of came around, and I'd been promoted to my level of incompetence at work. I'd been made project manager.
Right.
And I had this real handful of a project with a real handful of a customer, and basically I went stress pop.
Really?
Just completely just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I've got to stop. This is killing me. So I quit that job without really a thought of what I was going to do next, because I was on quite a long notice.
Okay.
So even though I quit in mid-May, I wasn't leaving until the middle of July. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I had to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because my first kid had just been born, and and I was just turning into that person you hate in the movies that you poke fun at. The guy who forgets his wife's birthday and all of that stuff. And it was just no, had to stop.
Yeah, you had a lot going on by the sounds of things then.
Yeah, so then my accountant said, well, you've got a bit of money built up in Cotic because you've not taken anything out yet. He said, even if you basically don't make another penny from this moment forward, you've got enough money to get you through a year. There's basically about a year's salary sitting there. So you may as well give that a shot. It was my accountant.
What an amazing accountant!
Because I was such a loser at the business side of it.
Yeah.
Even 3 years in, it took my accountant to say, you really ought to do this full time. And that was in August 2006. First week of August 2006 was when I went full time. So right. Nearly 10 years ago.
Wow.
I'm a little bit better at the books now.
Yeah. It's amazing. You have to pick that sort of stuff up, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, man. I was
I'm by
like
no
the
means
amount
good
of
at
time a good accountant, like you're talking about inspiring people. I don't know whether it's inspiring you, but seriously, if you're getting into business, get a good accountant.
Yeah.
That's advice rather than inspiration.
For
The
sure.
amount of time Martin has rolled his eyes and said, "Oh, I'll sort it out." That's just it's worth the money. It's worth those bills.
100%. I've had a bad run in with an accountant recently, which we won't go into on here. I say recently, as you know, just before Hook It, really.
Yeah.
So he was definitely one of the bad ones out there. One of the cowboys.
Yeah, not
That's for
so
sure.
good.
No,
Not so good.
no, not at all. But yeah, that's such a cool story, man. It is inspirational. Like, you know, to hear how you did it and the fact that you were still working a day job, and you know, it must have been fun times, but also maybe not so fun because you were stressed to death at work. And stress isn't nice. I think stress is one of the worst things out there for people.
Yeah, yeah, and it's totally, but it's a really hard thing to see past when you're in a pretty well paid job, because um, one of the things that my old bosses struggled to deal with me was, and in hundreds of ways, I've got to say that those guys were inspirational to me running a small business and doing it so amazingly well. You know, they helped me do what I do now. But the one thing they couldn't quite get their head round was they'd sort of promoted me to this position that they thought I could do, and they were paying me very, very well for it. And after about 6 or 9 months of it, I was saying, I'll give you the money back. Like, I want to take a pay cut and I want to go back to just designing stuff because that's what I'm good at.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to stop this now. And they kind of, well, they were stuck because they didn't have someone else to take over what I was doing. So I knew they were in a hard position. But yeah, I was like, I just couldn't deal with it. So, but again, you keep plodding on because you get that monthly paycheck.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people go into some sort of like, I don't know if it's like a self-denial, but just kind of thinking, oh, it'll be all right because at the end of the month, there's X amount of money in my bank account. And I think there's way more to life than that, and living like that. And yeah, I think that's kind of what the bike industry is kind of about, is actually enjoying life and riding your bike, and trying not to get that in deep with stress. And and working for the man, you know?
Definitely. I mean, it's something, I can't remember who told me it, but it's one of those truisms. Like you said, I got told the 3 most addictive things in life are crack, nicotine, and a monthly paycheck.
Yeah, it's probably about right.
But it is so true.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's really hard. I mean, I was properly in a bad place. I got pushed to a very dark place before I decided, you know, enough is enough. So, it is hard for people because it's a scary thing to do. And luckily, I had something else to go and do. That's the thing. I'd hate to have been in that position and not know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Even though that's basically what I thought I was doing when I pulled the plug.
Because I'm guessing a lot of people out there just carry on doing what they're doing just because they've got no other option, and they've got, you know, like you were saying, you had kids, so it was a pretty big thing to make a big jump and do something different.
It was, but then by the same token, I also wanted to do the best for my kids.
Yeah.
And that for me is being around.
Very true.
And not being so stressed at some other situation that it gets taken out on them.
Yeah. I mean, a 5-year-old or however old, they don't care how much money's in the bank. They just want to hang out with the dad, don't they, at the end of the day?
For sure, yeah. And that's one of the awesome things about what I've done. It's been really cool to be such a massive part of my kids' upbringing because I work from home sort of 3 or 4 days a week. So that means that I do the school run most days.
Yeah.
Just walk them up to school, and I'm still at my desk at 5 to 9.
Yeah, you can't beat that stuff, can you?
And you know, and I get to see them when they come in from school. So even if I'm working, they can pop upstairs and say hello, and we know how each other's day's gone. And you know, summer holidays, I actually get to spend some of the summer holidays with my kids because I'm around.
Yeah.
You know, just I might be working for a few hours, but
you can't put a price on that, I guess. I mean, I don't have kids, to be honest, but I know that if I did, been around, it'd be number one. You know, 100%. You have to be. You don't want to look back and be like, oh, I wish I saw him do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You kind of want to be there as much as possible, don't you? And finding that workplace balance for some people is probably really difficult.
It is. I was very lucky in some ways to have been instructed in how much work can take over your life, because it's very easy, particularly when you do work for yourself, and you'll know this as well. I mean, we work hard because it's ours.
Yeah.
And there's always something to do, isn't there? There's never...
Yeah.
You know,
I don't even call it... It's not a job.
Empty,
it's not a job. It's just a lifestyle. There's no job around it at all.
No. But by the same token, you kind of have to, particularly when you've got kids, you have to be quite disciplined about saying... Because you could work all the hours. There's always something to do.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
You have to say, right, now I've stopped work.
Yeah.
And I've been probably better at that than some other people I know who work for themselves.
Really, that's good.
But that's only because I've been burnt before.
Yeah. Well, true, very true. Well, maybe that bad experience has obviously had a good reflect on how your life is now. You know, if you'd have just stayed there doing CAD drawings and been relatively stress-free, then potentially there's no Cotic.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was a bad experience that, you know, bad experiences don't necessarily have to remain scars.
Yeah.
You just have to, if you learn from them and you end up in a place that you're happy with, then you can't say that, you can't really have a regret about anything. And if you end up in a good place and things are going well, regardless of how badly it goes at certain points, because you learn from it, and unless it all completely and utterly goes to hell. Yeah,
true. Very true. No, I agree with you, man. And I've been in the same position as well. I've had, I'm going to say one dead end job, which is kind of crazy, really. You know, 29 years old, but right from school, I knew I didn't want to work for anybody else. I wanted to do my own thing all the time, and I've pretty much, apart from traveling America and Australia, pretty much always worked for myself. I did, obviously, as some people might know, I did some work for One Industries for 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd call my dead-end job. But it kind of wasn't a dead-end job because it led to Hook It in a weird kind of way.
Yeah.
You know, it'd been out on the road learning the ropes of distribution and stuff. That was initially why I ever started working there, was just to learn everything about distribution.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd call that my dead-end job, which is kind of crazy because it wasn't. I've never really looked at it like that, but it wasn't dead-end.
It was a stepping stone.
It was a stepping stone, for sure. It was very much a stepping stone. Yeah.
Well, but I say this too. See, this is another thing about seeing things as, not necessarily dead-end jobs, but as something you can learn from and move on from, because I get this a lot with, just this week I actually had to email a lad who, you get kids who are like, sort of 16, 18 years old, they're doing the qualifications and they say, they email or drop me a letter or something like that. Yeah, I actually got a typewritten letter. That was pretty wild.
Really?
Yeah, it's like fully like actual paper.
No way, that's rare. So, where's this kid from?
From this lad who was 16, and it's not the first time. But then I did the same thing when I was that age. You say, I'm into engineering and I'd love to work in the bike industry.
Yeah.
How do I get into it? What would you recommend?
Yeah.
And particularly for engineers, particularly for kids who are looking to do engineering, I say don't come into the bike industry straight away. Because there's not that much in the way of jobs going.
Yeah.
But unless you do something for yourself, or you get in one with one of the big companies, of which not many are based in the UK. But I learnt more about being a professional engineer in the first 3 years after my degree than I did the whole 3 years of doing my degree.
Okay.
When I did my
actually
degree,
hands-on, or
you do your degree, and that gives you some tools.
Yeah.
But actually learning to be a professional engineer and how it actually works in the real world, and learning about how the commercial side of it balances against the engineering side, because that's the nature of engineering is it's like a creative science. It's sort of a bit of a dichotomy in that you have to have creative design solutions for something. You have to be creative, and then it becomes science in terms of actually deciding that that's definitely going to work. But you can always come up with a better idea. So at some point you have to say that's good enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise nothing ever gets done.
You just carry on and carry on and carry on.
So there's all these things that you learn about that how fit together, and that's what I say to them is go and work. Don't work in the bike industry because it's too small.
Yeah.
go and work in a big industry where you can get trained properly, where they've got where you go and work in a department of 30 engineers where you can learn from the old timers who know everything.
Because those guys are
some of the old guys on the railway who I used to know were just insanely smart guys, just amazing guys, and such naturally talented engineers, and you learn so much from them that I couldn't do what I do now without having done that like 9-10 years in another part of the profession, because it gave me the tools to do this.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
So it's,
in some ways, I kind of don't agree with the whole school system with that, because you can easily leave with a degree and not know anything about actually physically doing it. And I'm a big believer in just being very hands-on, and just, if you want to do something, get out and do it. You know, just learn from the best people you can find, like you said. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, the engineering is a bit of a tricky one from that point of view, in terms of that you actually need.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're going to need like a degree or something to.
You need the qualification, because there's simply learning beyond what you do at school that you're not capable of doing at school until you need to do that kind of on the sort of science and sort of mathematics and that kind of side of it. It's pretty heavy going.
Yeah.
But I would completely agree on the other side of it, is that the commercial and design side of the engineering degree is really weak. It frustrated the hell out of me how little actually hands-on making stuff you do during a mechanical engineering degree, when fundamentally, if you don't understand how to make something, how are you supposed to design it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, and there was, all sorts of stuff like that, which means that when you're actually in a live environment where you are making stuff, you're designing stuff to be made, and you've got to go out on the shop floor and explain to the guys why you've done it like that, when they're swearing at you with bloody knuckles because they can't get at that nut bolt, or and it's I did that. One of my first one of the first things I designed was, it was a tricky thing to design, but it was not. But it meant the assembly was not the easiest thing in the world.
Okay.
But it was still signed off by one of the senior guys.
That's
so, it wasn't a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. But it's you having a visceral feel for what you're doing.
Yeah, that's it.
Is really important, because to me, as a young engineer, I was just looking at that like massive M24 bolt that was holding a traction motor onto a railway, onto a vehicle suspension. I said, well, yeah, if we just do that, that'd be fine, and we're getting there. But then you realise, well, the guys need a 2 metre long bar to walk on the M24.
Wow.
I've got the lookup table here, actually. You need over 800 Newton meters on an M24.
Wow.
We were doing up one of your hook-it stems the other day with 8.
Yeah, really?
So that's what you're dealing with. When your garage, that's about 8-10 Newton meters. Times that by 100, that's what you do to hold things onto a railway vehicle.
So you do need a long bar.
Yeah, so access for a bar that's as longer than a man becomes quite a big issue in those situations. But I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And that's what the awesome thing about designing bikes is, because you get that really visceral feedback loop, because it's an art as well as a science.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got all these tools that I do to lay out bikes, but I still get that real kind of nervous, excited buzz when I ride a first prototype.
Yeah.
Because until you ride it, you don't know.
No, I can imagine. That's super exciting, to be honest.
So it's really cool from that point. So from that point of view, it's like, is this right? Is it wrong? Is it surprising? Is it as expected?
That's crazy. I can imagine that is a lot of fun, to be honest with you. I've never really looked at it like that, being honest. But yeah, so, and then you literally have it, and then send it to the magazines. Let's hope those guys like it. Fingers crossed.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting tension that I find, because
I bet
a lot of it's, because it can be quite subjective, and a lot of the magazine guys, because they're experienced enough, are really good about taking where you're coming from with something on board.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, they're often testing it in relation to other things.
Yeah.
So if you step outside the norm, even if you've got a good reason to, that's a dangerous place to be. It's
yeah, you definitely could go either way from there. It's, play it safe is not the best way to go about it, is it at all? As you know,
no, but then it's also potentially the best way to not screw it up in comparison to the competition. So there's always that thing, like, for instance, like this whole like super long geometry thing that's going on at the moment.
Are we allowed to talk about that at all or not?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
We had the bike at a bike show the other weekend.
The long shot.
It's all out now.
Okay. Exposed. You didn't hear it here first.
But I mean, I thought when Mondraker did the forward geometry, I mean, they still hedged their bets by doing conventional bikes alongside it, but they only did it for about a year.
Yeah.
And they went balls deep
straight
for this really quite radical thing that a lot of people didn't get.
Yeah, and they for sure still look weird when you see them in the shop, and you're like,
yeah.
I'll be brutally honest with you, I've never actually ridden one. But the people that I know that have had them, and I know a lot of dealers out there, do pretty good with that bike. So, but anyway, sorry, go on. Sorry.
Definitely, it's one of those things where they must have had to do so much work on getting people on demos, because it's one of those things where you've got to get people on the bike.
You've got to sit on it. You've got to cock your leg over it and see how it climbs and descends. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, and it's getting more and more that way as the more the bike industry splinters out, because as everything moves away from some kind of central idea of what a normal bike is, you can't just buy it as a result of, oh yeah, I like the look of that and it's my kind of top tube length and that will be cool, because everything's sort of moving in quite different shapes and directions, and you've got all the different
so many variables
sizes and
so many.
So I think that's why demo's coming like back in. It's why we're investing so much.
To be honest, that was one thing I was going to ask you about having. It's Sam, isn't it, on the road?
Yeah.
And how that's going to be benefiting you, hopefully, and how it has benefited. Because I think that's pretty interesting. I think it's a good. I think it's a great move, to be honest with you. So for people out there who might not know what it is, what have you got going on? You have basically a guy out demoing bikes.
We do have a guy out demoing bikes, but it's not in the conventional sense, because obviously there's plenty of brands who do, like, who have a fleet of bikes and a bloke who goes around their dealers and things like that. But the slight difference we have is that although we have about 20 dealers around the country, those territories are too big to do just dealer demos, and there are still big areas of the country that we don't cover as a result of those dealers. And we also, even though we've got dealers, we've always sold direct, and we probably do 65 or 70% of our business direct sale. So we needed to figure out, as well as doing shop demos, we need to actually reach the people who are just wanting to buy straight from us. We need to actually go out and do, like, try and get out around the country and do regular demos. So what Sam is doing with his demo fleet is we're going to various places around the country and doing public demos. So you sort of say, just in the nature of you would maybe a dealer demo, or one of our usual demos down in the Peak District is you just pitch up and grab a bike and hand over your credit card as a hostage for an hour and go and ride the
Sam
bike.
Goes shopping and you go out on the
bike. All the details go into the back end system. It's all fine. So
I think
what's
it's
that
great.
about work-life balance? So you can go and do that and just turn up. But the other thing we're doing is that, seeing as we're going to certain parts of the country for maybe one day, to make it work, so Sam's got a reason to go away for 2 or 3 days at a time in a certain area, we're saying, well, we'll bring the demo to you. If you want to ride one of our bikes, or a few of your mates want to, try out some bikes or get involved, then let us know and we'll come out on your Thursday night ride, or Sam will come along and we'll go out on your Saturday morning ride somewhere, and we'll just. So at the moment we're doing for every sort of 3 days, sort of 3-day weekends that Sam's away, we're doing 1 or 2 private demos,
right?
And then we're doing then the other 1 or 2 days we'll do public demos around the kind of area.
That's excellent. There's definitely no other brands doing that either, is there? It's really personable way of doing it.
Yeah, because basically we'd say, email us, where are you?
Yeah.
What do you want? When you're available? If we can fit it in, we'll come and see you.
We'll be there. That's brilliant. I think that's really cool. And so far, has it been successful, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I mean, we're just warming up now. Sam was in Wales this weekend, and he did a private demo at Penmacno, which worked really well. He had 5 guys out, and they were really enjoying it. And then Saturday it was at Nantiarian, another private demo, which even though a couple of guys pulled out, there was one guy who was really keen on one of the 26-inch, the beefy 26, because we still do 26-inch bike, but ended up trying the 27.5-inch version and absolutely loving it. So he's interested in that. And then we had a public demo the following day, which was pretty busy as well.
Awesome.
He's off down to Bristol in the southwest next weekend. So
I think as well, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of the country which is just missed. It's, I mean, I get it when I go to see bike shops. You go up to parts of Scotland and they're just not used to seeing a rep. So I'm guessing they don't get to see demos that often either.
The Scotland was the biggest response, and that was what we were expecting as well. Like as soon as we announced, because we've not even announced it to the wider industry much. It's really has just been through the Cotic channels to start with to get us up and running. But as soon as we announced that we were doing this, the Scottish guys were all over it.
Up there.
I think he's got at least 2 3 or 4 day trips booked in over the next sort of 2 months, 2 or 3 months, with like that's 6 or 7 different riding groups across Scotland. Who, awesome. Like you say, and they're just absolutely mad for it.
Oh, they love it up there. The riding's amazing, awesome people. I've only just started kind of hedging more into Scotland over the last sort of like 6 months. Yeah. But it's amazing the response you get when you go up there. It's just crazy. It's still, sometimes I think, am I still in the same country? I know we still are, but
just about.
We're just about hanging on there. But you just get such a weird response from shops sometimes in a really positive way that like thank you for actually making the trip up here, because there's a lot of people which do miss us out. So yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of business to be done up there, and like you say, you're up there breaking down barriers. People are understanding more about Cotic, getting to ride the bikes. It's win-win if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the interesting thing that's going to be for me about how powerful it will be longer term is not necessarily the immediate uptake of demos, because although we've never had the capacity sort of in terms of manpower to take the demos out around the country, we've been doing demos from the Peak District and in our base in Carver for the last 4 years, and they're ridiculously successful. People just really want to ride the bike, and they're really up for the bike, but it's a lot of money, and they just want to know that it's good. It is what they want.
Need that extra bit of security at the end of it.
So we know that demo works. The interesting thing for me was the out and about kind of side of it, which Sam had a bit of the other week. Was he had a down day between a private demo and a public demo up in the northeast. Because that's where he's from, he just thought, I'll shoot over to Hamsterley. I'll go and chat to the guys at the Uplift, talk about maybe, doing something, later in the year. And he had no plans. He just rocked up in the van, put a couple of bikes out, got chatting to the guys who were doing the Uplift that day. And there was some guys there, and they're proper into downhilling.
Right.
That's their thing. They're not interested, enduros for pussies, they're not. Is it
like Laconda guy or somebody?
Yeah, just like they're not into it at all. But because Sam was there and he was riding some of the bigger downhill tracks with them on his rocket, they got chatting, and Sam was just like, well, I'm here, I've got the bikes, take them out, have a go. And they had a blast. They were absolutely loving them. So these are guys, because we don't make downhill product, who wouldn't have even I don't even know if they even knew about Cotic. There's no reason for us to come up on their radar.
Yeah.
And now they've ridden one of our bikes and thought it was mint. And then they'll tell their friends they tried this bike because this guy was there and he just said, yeah, try the bike out. And
that's amazing. That's exactly what you want to achieve, isn't it?
That buzz is what I'm really interested to see how that builds up, because we'll get more and more of that the more Sam goes around the country.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's awesome, mate. I think that's, a great move. Awesome for the business. Do you think many people are going to follow you, do you reckon?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I don't know how hard it would be for the other guys to do it, because fundamentally it's just about reaching out to potentially smaller groups of people. I mean, the thing that I guess it just comes down to economics, really, because you've got, like, Santa Cruz have a massive demo van, Orange have a massive demo van. I'm sure, I mean, I was up at the J. James thing at the weekend, and, Cube had really? It was a big old vehicle they had full of stuff.
Yeah.
So all of these big brands have got all of this stuff, but obviously they're going to these quite big organised demos and shop demos and hoping to get 50, 60, 70 people through the bikes on and they've got a fleet of 30 bikes or something like that.
So how many is on your fleet at the minute?
We've got, what have we got? We've got 5 Rockets, 2 Sols, 2 Solarises, Escapade, and so we got 10 or 12 maybe.
Awesome. So if there's anyone out there who is wondering whether they've got the bike for you, you have the bike for them.
Bike for them, yeah. We'll come for a ride.
That's it, and they'll be there at your house.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, the other guys may be able to react to it, but it's about being a little bit more selective. I mean, they've certainly got the vans and the fleets. It's just whether they actually want to or whether they think it's worth it. I don't know, but. Yeah. It's worth it for us. It's difficult to say because those guys don't sell directly.
That's true.
So it's worth it for us to reach out to an individual customer because we potentially see the sales straight back.
Yeah.
Don't know. It works for us. That's all.
Wait and see. That'll be on the next one that we do. That's brilliant, dude. Great work. I mean, something else I wanted to talk to you about, only quickly if you want, but. Sure. Steel City Media and those edits that they do for you are amazing. Like, for anyone out there who hasn't seen some of the Steel City Media Cotic edits that Joe has made, you just have to watch them. They're literally like an entity of their own.
Every single one of them, including like outtakes and bloopers, and all of them are on the videos link on the Cotic webpage. So if you just go to cotic.co.uk and click on videos, they're all there.
They're literally some of my best riding videos ever, I think. The whole Rocket Man stuff and everything, I think it's amazing. Yeah, Joe's done a killer job on those things. Hopefully Joe's going to be on this thing at some point too. So
yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
Joe's been a massive part of our success as a brand over the last few years because, I mean, I was his first paying customer.
Really?
I knew him before he was big time.
Yeah, there is a nickname out there. We call him Big Time Bowman for a reason. I call him the balloon these days. So because all he does is let you down.
Harsh.
But yeah, those things are amazing, and I can imagine that the video hits and all that sort of stuff really, really helps.
Yeah, I mean they massively rose because they were real breakthroughs on Pink Bike, which is where we got a massive amount of brand recognition internationally off the back of those. They were just incredible, and the uplift. I mean, it's funny. They in some ways they're getting less effective because there's so much content out there now. There's so much competition that it just becomes like white noise to people, which is why we sort of try and keep it a bit more creative and a bit more silly as well. Just keep a sense of humour.
People want to watch something different.
But they are powerful. I mean, we saw it resurrect a model line that was struggling to gain traction,
right?
To pretty much quadrupling sales like the month after the video dropped.
Is that the 26 one?
No, that was X, very first one. That was
really
to a good thing. That was the X video.
Right.
We're really struggling to get get a sense of how to get it in the market, because it wasn't really our core market. It was what some of our customers have been asking us for, and it didn't quite hit the spot for the full-on cyclocross races. So it was maybe positioned a bit wrong.
Okay.
I don't know, but it wasn't going quite as well as we hoped. And then we did late for work.
Obviously you just threw James on that bike, and the rest is history.
Stokes' ass in there as well.
Oh yeah, of course.
It was all.
God, that's going back a lot of years now, mate. That's going back some time.
And and then we sold like 7 the following week. So
Crazy.
it was. So I was like, oh right. And then obviously, we went from there and to Rocket Man, and and Size Matters, and all of the other ridiculousness. And we're shooting our next one in late May. So
really, that's gonna be exciting.
More capes.
More capes. More capes. Is that going to be the hashtag? Hashtag more capes.
More capes.
Fantastic. Now, man, I love those edits, and I think, like, talk about inspirational. I mean, Joe is definitely, believe it or not, although he's younger and all that sort of stuff, to me, Joe's a massive inspiration. What that kid's done from picking up a GoPro one day to what he has now is incredible.
Yeah, it has. It's incredible. It's dedication and hard work, but it's also there's definitely a talent there as well, because he's not just a guy with a camera.
No,
the massive thing that he brings to the Cotic edits is the creativity. He's a filmmaker. Yeah. That's the difference. He's not just a filmer. He's a filmmaker, because he comes up with these ideas, and not only does he come up with them, he makes them happen.
Yeah.
Those costumes and and everything that's Rocket Man, and the straight line costume with that crazy mask that he's wearing, and the flame boots and stuff, and he organises. Joe organises all of that. We just get smashed up on strong coffee and come up with stupid ideas, and then like suddenly 3 or 4 months later, there's a video with that crazy idea actually on.
That's how the best ideas are formed as well, I think, is strong coffee and a quiet pub.
Yeah.
And do you find that, like, social media and stuff works pretty good for Cotic? Is it a big part of your business? Is it something that you guys focus on, like, quite heavily?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got, the last 6 months or so, we've really upped our game, I think, and that's been 2 things. Firstly, we got Richard Baber. Yep. Who is awesome local photographer who's been our
Richard Baber.
He does all of our photos now as well. So the reason why the site looks so beautiful is because of him.
Yeah.
But he's been he works as a mechanic for us, oddly enough, for a couple of days a week. Right. But what he's been doing for the last 6 months is been doing building the Instagram and the Facebook kind of side of things, doing content and promotion ideas and stuff like that. And that's been brilliant to get the brand a bit more focused and a bit more out there.
Yeah. Sure.
But the other thing I've learned an awful lot myself about is Facebook, how Facebook works in terms of paying for boosted posts, because basically as a business now, if you just put something on Facebook, it goes nowhere. Even if you've got a million fans, 3 people will see it unless you pay for it. So it's about learning how you use that without spending a fortune. And you don't have to spend a fortune, but you have to learn about how it works and who you're focusing it on and stuff like that. So Facebook and Instagram have been a real focus for us. Good. Twitter is for business doesn't work at all.
Yeah, we're the same, to be honest with that. I might have ruined a few people's days today as well on Twitter, which was it wasn't planned. It really wasn't planned. But I walked into a bike shop this morning, first appointment, and I noticed the latest edition of Bike Biz.
Yeah.
So I flicked through it, and I noticed the top 20 IBDs had been released. So I was looking, I was like, oh wow, like 80% of these people are all our customers. That's fantastic. I'll send a tweet to all of them while I was waiting for my appointment, saying congratulations. But none of them had seen the episode. None of them had seen the issue yet. So I had my phone then started ringing, and a few dealers were like, "Where have you seen this?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry if I've spoiled your little surprise." So sometimes Twitter's a bit of a hindrance.
Yeah, it's a bit too immediate.
Yeah, sometimes it is, but it's. Same for Hook It though, mate, to be honest with you. I think it's something that for distributors is kind of overlooked. And we do loads of little things that just kind of help dealers out. We just do little social media plugs here and there. If someone, when we get orders through at the end of the day, I'll usually send them, a thank you and a photo or just something that they can share. And I think it is a big thing. I mean, obviously we don't sell anything direct like yourselves, but it's kind of nice that game kind of culture, kind of looking for likes kind of thing. It's kind of addictive, and I quite enjoy it, to be honest with you.
Well, you guys are great, because since we've been working together with the team sponsorship as well, you guys have been awesome for getting us promoted into the joystick kind of side of things, cool. which is massively useful for us. Because obviously Joystick are a really big brand particularly over in the States and Canada. So for us to be associated with them through the social media side of things increases our brand exposure. So it's awesome that it works both ways.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I want, isn't it? And I'll be honest with you as well, like sometimes it's really sad, but sometimes I still I can't believe someone's bought something from our company, and I'm just like, oh, what can I do to say thank you? Is there anything I can do? So,
never ever lose that.
No, I think it is a nice
never
thing.
Lose that.
Sometimes at the end of the day you look at the orders and you're like, oh wow, they've spent so much money on this stuff, and what can I do? And I'll call them the next day and I'm like, thank you so much for your order. Like, it actually does mean a lot, because you know what it's like when you start a company from practically nothing. The drive that's there and all that sort of stuff, and the emotion that's wrapped up in it, I think I still have it. It's not gone at all. Like, I still get so excited when an order comes through, and kind of sad, man, but
no, it's not. But that's if you get excited about your job and you care about your job, then that's a good thing. I mean, even like 13 years in now, I still get, if we get a customer who in any way has a bad experience, I'm still mortified about that. It's not just, oh God, whatever, God, that's just some crap to deal with. I'm just like...
And the thing is, you can't pass it on either.
I feel bad.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible, and I want to make it better.
100%. No, I agree with you totally. And again, for Hooker, I'm usually
I think you're in trouble.
No, 100%. Usually I'm, where the buck stops as well a lot of the time, because it'll be a shop which calls the rep, which is always me. And I'm guessing it's the same with you, that the buck stops at you, and you want to make sure that customer's happy, and you want to do everything in your power to make it as good as possible. So I totally feel you on that, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah,
totally. But yeah, it's the social media thing. It's big. I can only see it getting a little bit stronger. I'm going to try and move over into Snapchat a little bit. Apparently Snapchat's the next thing.
I don't even know what Snapchat is.
Do you not? Okay.
I'm 40 this year, so I'm going to have to get somebody in their 20s on board who knows what they're talking about with this stuff.
So yeah, okay. Well, that's kind of what I'm going to try and head towards, a little bit of Snapchat, and like the podcast, just something different. It's just something a little bit different to put out there, and I'm thinking a lot of dealers are going to be kind of interested in hearing what a lot of people like yourself have got to say about bikes, the industry, life, anything. I think it's just...
Yeah, I mean, content is one of those things that the internet absolutely craves, but unfortunately for a lot of the publishing houses, nobody's really willing to pay for.
Yeah.
People are desperate to plug in a podcast while they sit on the train home, so they don't have to talk to the person next to them, and I can't blame them.
No.
It's so that people are constant. There's this voracious appetite for content, and there's a lot of content being provided, but more and more it's coming from brands.
Yeah.
It's not the big media houses that are actually providing the content, and the brands hold it to them. They're almost like a conduit.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
For them, but that's not going to play out very well for the media houses. And we still need them.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know how the model's going to work in terms of, us creating content and then them putting it out for free on there and advertising us for free effectively on their channels. I don't
know. I think Joe would be amazing to talk to about that, because he probably would
have all sorts of insights into that, definitely.
But I'm not from like a marketing background at all. A lot of the Hook It stuff I kind of do myself.
Yeah.
The other guys kind of help as and when, but I pretty much look after all of it. And I'm not from a marketing background. Like I say, I just crack on, and I just put some energy into it, and hopefully you get a little bit back from it, and you get some recognition for it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's a good thing for sure. I know there's a lot of people who avoid it at all costs, and I think it can definitely eat you up sometimes, especially like your personal Facebook and stuff like that. I literally have none of that stuff on my phone. Everything is business, like everything. It's crazy.
You do have to be able to switch it off. I mean, I don't have email pushed to my phone.
No, me either.
So I have to choose to go to the browser to log in to. You can't constantly be beeped by
you can't
stuff. You have to choose when you dip in and out. And especially when you're managing your company's media stuff as well.
Definitely.
That Facebook post at 11 p.m. can really ruin your evening.
It can for sure. And I think sometimes it kind of looks unprofessional too if you just hammering content out just literally for the sake of doing it because you've got nothing better to do. So that's something I'm trying to personally get away from as well. I know you kind of feel that the more of this you put out, the more people know what you're doing, the more people know who the company is. But then there's the flip side of it where you can kind of look a little bit silly if you're just hammering it for the sake of hammering it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tricky one because I read a lot about this because I'm not from a marketing background as well. So I always feel like I'm the dumbest person in the room when it comes to these kind of conversations. But I have learned a lot. I think the interesting thing for me is that you've got the kind of the hard sell side of marketing who will say, forget how annoyed it makes people. People need something put in front of them 21 times before they act on it. 20 emails or tweets or contacts before they'll do something. You're just thinking, well, you're probably right from a cold call, but that still feels like not
the bike
the way
industry
I want to take it.
definitely doesn't work like that. I don't think.
But then on the other side of it, one of the things I like about the kind of the Facebook thing at the moment, where you can target what you're doing, and also not necessarily target, but if you open up, one of the things I'm quite enjoying is when I put a promoted post up, I'm keeping the audience net really, really broad. And you pay a bit more to reach enough people because obviously it's a bit splattergun. But what you do is you use it to kind of narrow it down.
Okay.
Because after the campaign is finished, after 2 or 3 days, you see that this many people, this gender, this age, they're interested in this, they're interested in that. So I don't really use it necessarily to narrow down my targeting. It's just kind of interested what people are into, and seeing what your demographic is, because then you can kind of maybe look at breaking out of it. But it's also it appeals to me, my sort of engineering kind of side as well, because it's almost science.
It is science. It is science.
You have a hypothesis.
Yep.
Try saying that with your teeth in. And you test it, and then you get a result. And then you does it correlate? Yes, no, try again. It's interesting because it's actually, rather than being this kind of just pour money into a black hole kind of thing that marketing used to be seen as, just let's just get print ads for the year, let's do the TV advertising or this, that and the other, and it's just literally setting fire to money.
It is.
For no obvious advantage.
You never know if anything's going to come back.
Advantage.
That's
you can actually measure this.
You can.
And I like that. Because I'm seeing, well, I've spent a £5 on promoting that post and it's got me that many eyeballs.
That's it.
It's quite. I like that. Even though
I like that
I'm sure
too.
everyone who's listening to this who doesn't know about how all this thing is absolutely appalled by the thought of us all sitting there behind our Facebook page going, "Oh, I'm going to focus this at the 44-year-old age group." I'm going to go after the people who like Aston Martins this week. They've got lots of money. There we go.
You target everything down south. Brilliant. I don't know. Well, before we wrap it up anyway, Si, I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
Nice and simple. Number one, what does the future hold for Cotic? Where are you heading? What's the plan? in
plan
a
is
very general
the
answer.
plan is more growing the full suspension line.
Right.
That's where the immediate future will be. Is that we've always had a really solid, broad line of hardtails, and now with the Rocket and the DropLink platform, we've now got a platform to build on to grow a range of full suspension bikes. So yeah, by the end of this year, we'll have another 3 or 4 full suspension lines out.
Wow. Is there any other materials in the pipeline?
Not in the immediate future, no.
Did I see some carbon on something recently?
Yeah, on the prototype.
I thought so.
On the prototype that we had out down at Bespoke, we have a carbon back end, which is literally one-off handmade by a friend of mine, Adrian at Swarf Cycles.
Right.
That was partly because I'm always interested in keeping up with carbon because everyone else is using it, and it's becoming one of those things that people almost expect. So I'm kind of interested. Right. So it was good to do something practical about that without having to do something remotely with a factory that I don't know about in the Far East, and the tooling costs are horrendous and all of this kind of stuff. The other thing is that oddly enough, it was also cost and expedience because I wanted to try the wider space, the boost space back wheels to see about the stiffness. Uh-huh. And because all our production tooling is 142, it would have taken months and spending out on new production tooling, which costs a fortune, just to get a welding one.
Yeah.
It was actually quicker and cheaper for Adrian to make me a carbon one.
Really? So, you heard it here first.
So, and this is talking about one-offs here. I mean, because obviously you're talking about potentially making a tool, a welding jig, which costs thousands of pounds to make, one prototype. Well, so it worked on a lot of levels, but there's certainly no immediate plans at all to do carbon in production because we've no idea how we might do that.
Yeah, for sure. So a growing full suspension line.
Yeah.
Awesome. Second, what's the best piece of business advice you've ever been given?
Business advice.
Caught you off guard.
Wow.
Should we go business and life? Let's say business and life.
So much. Oh, God, I'm properly stumped because it's just like, I can't be very general.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Learn from your mistakes, and as a result, try not to regret anything.
Yeah. 100%.
If you learn from your mistakes and you end up in a good place, it's pretty hard to have regrets.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. Totally
so
agree.
that would be. Yeah. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, but learn from them.
Mine's, I honestly haven't thought of this. It just came into my brain now. Mine's that my dad, literally, token answer to pretty much anything I ever say to him is, just do it, son. That, it could have been when I was 16 saying, I'm gonna leave school and I'm gonna move to America. Yeah, just do it, son. Like that's the best piece of advice anyone's ever given me. It's literally just don't think about it, just do it.
That was actually something I said to my wife the other night. It was I read in a Richard Branson book years ago. That's one of his mottos. Screw it, let's do it.
Just do it, son.
Let's do his books.
Really? I didn't know that. There's a lot to be said for that. It's just literally, if it's in your brain and you want to do it, just get out and do it.
I think the other thing is it's not very pithy and short, but my dad was in business for a lot of years, the whole time I was growing up.
Right.
And he sold it when I was at university. And he wasn't enjoying it the last couple of years. And I asked him, I said, what was the point? What was the point at which, you did this for over 20 years. What was the point at which you decided this was no good? What was it? And he said it wasn't one specific thing, but he said, for the first 20 years, it was an adventure.
Oh, really?
And I thought, that's brilliant.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So, yeah. Live life like, do it like it's an adventure.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you, Dad. That's a cool comment.
Yeah.
And lastly then, where can people find out about Cotic? Like, hit us with some details, man.
Okay, so main one is www.cotic.co.uk. That's COTIC. That's our website. All of the information's on there. You can sign up to our mailing list, all of those kind of things. We're at Cotic Bikes on Instagram. We're Cotic Ltd, Cotic Limited on Facebook. Just Google Cotic.
Yeah.
We've been going long enough that Google was young enough that we're at the top of all the Google.
And for sure, make sure you go and watch the Steel City Media edits.
Yeah, go and watch Rocket Man. Go and watch Straight
sure.
Line. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Nice one, dude. Much appreciated.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me. That was ace.
Good. There we go. Right. Signing off. It's dinner time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, buddy.
Yeah, you too, man. Cheers.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.